YouTubers, and welcome to a new video of Arepas for Dinner. For the ones who don't know me, my name is Andrea and I make videos about Czech Republic, my life in Czech Republic. I try a lot of food, I also do traveling vlogs, and usually my videos are very happy videos, but this video is not gonna be that happy because I have to talk about something very serious, that is the real estate crisis in the Czech Republic, but specifically focus in Prague. If I look a little bit this way is because I made a list of the things that is, in my opinion, affecting the real estate situation right now. I made this research within 2 months or 3 months, and I actually put it together in the last couple of weeks. So the problem is quite difficult, so I would suggest you to go grab some drinks, grab some popcorn, and be ready to learn a lot of things you wish you didn't have to learn. So that's it. Let's start with the video. Okay, so the real estate crisis in the Czech Republic is undeniable. It depends from which side you see it. For example, if you're a real estate agent or you're an investor, it might be a perfect scenario. But if you are a common person that just wants to buy a house, it's a nightmare. So let's put it this way. In Europe, people like owning their own houses, right? Besides Germany, it has only 51% of house owners. The average in Europe is 70%. And by the way, everything that I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna leave it down below because I have a lot of bibliography with links and everything, so you can read it by yourself and not just blindly trust me. It's very natural, since 70% of Europeans own houses, it's very natural that Czechs want to own a house, right? Once they get married, once they're in the way of having babies, or once they have very young kids, they wanna buy a house. Or that's how it worked until pretty much 2014, when the real estate market prices went up by 90% ever since. I mean, year on year. So people that were able to buy a house in 2014 might be advising people nowadays to buy a house, but it's literally 100% more expensive. So we can't. So let's start by the problem. Of course, that's the problem, but let's start by the beginning. That is the problem. The problem comes in between income of the families, prices, and housing available. Those are 3 very important factors in any real estate market. I made a list, I made this little investigation based in Numbeo. Numbeo is just a webpage that shows statistics about different countries and different cities. And of course, I picked Prague as the main city, but you can have this tendency pretty much in any city in the Czech Republic. I just picked Prague because it's the biggest city and it's the capital and it's easier to use it for the purpose of this study. So Prague came second to Paris as the worst place to buy and the worst place to rent. In this chart, you can see the prices and you can see how it literally in the Czech Republic, you would have to work 18 years and put 100% of the income of one person for 18 years to buy the average 70 square meter apartment. That is very, very, very expensive. That's actually very insane. If you see, for example, how it works in Berlin, you would only have to do it for 5 years. So we're only worse to Paris, and after all, Paris is Paris, and it's pretty much the capital of, the capital of fashion and almost like the capital of Europe, practically. I mean, I know Europe doesn't have a capital, but if it would have, it probably would be Paris. Right now, Czechs are spending 80% of their salary to rent. Only worse to Budapest, and pretty much the same as in Rome. But in Rome, it only takes like 12 years of your life to buy a 70 square meter apartment if you put 100% of your money there without talking interest rates and all those complicated things. So those are just the numbers showing us that, Prague right now per square meter is overpriced. Real estate in Prague right now is very, very expensive compared to other societies around the world. So that's important. Your 3+ KK is a 2-bedroom apartment, so I'm always going to refer to the apartments for the amount of bedrooms that they have, meaning places to sleep where there's beds, apart from living room, dining room, and kitchen. So the average Prague rent right now for a 2-bedroom apartment or 3+ KK is 1,000 euros a month. That's not very expensive compared to other cities, actually, but it's very expensive compared to the actual income of people. Nowadays, the affordable apartments tend to be studios or 1-bedroom apartments. Those constitute the 50% of the housing available. Though that type of housing is not good housing for families. So literally 50% of the housing available in Prague is studios or 1-bedroom, so not family friendly. The construction companies are actually talking that for the future, they think the 60 square meter apartment are going to be in high demand. 60 square meter apartments don't allow you to raise a family on them. I'm just pointing that out because that's very important. Are they thinking really about what people need and want, or are they just trying to make like the highest profit? Of course they're trying just to make the highest profit. That's why we have to fix the system. We cannot punish the construction companies, but we have to fix the system to allow other people and other construction companies with other ways of thinking joining the market. So now that we know that real estate is super expensive, I want to talk a little bit, but super fast, about how you can get a loan in the Czech Republic, a mortgage to buy a house. Also, it's very important to understand that if you want me to do an entire video on mortgages, how you do get mortgages in the Czech Republic, how you do them elsewhere, and why getting a mortgage in the Czech Republic right now is the worst idea you can ever have in your life, let me know down in the comments and I do an entire video about that. But for this purpose, the purpose of this video, I'm just going to talk very fast, why this is happening, kind of like the prices are so high and people are still buying, and it is very related to like mortgages. First of all, we have to say that 50% of buyers nowadays are foreigners. Foreigners that come mainly from China and Russia. And this was what I took from 2 interviews that I had with developers. So meaning that a lot of people are buying cash, so they're not even buying, taking mortgages. When I say buying cash, it means like that they have the money, not that they bring suitcases with money, by the way. The requirements for a Czech loan are: banks can offer you up to 90%, they can offer you up to 40 years, and there's no maximum of 9 years of yearly income for your mortgage. You have a low interest of 2.7%, which is not really low compared to the rest of Europe, by the way. That is fixed only in between 3, 4 to 10 years. So it's not fixed for the entire 40 years of your loan. And the loans shouldn't exceed the 50% of the family income, but that's not mandatory. There's no rule. How it works elsewhere, because you saw 90%. Okay, elsewhere, generally the bank can give you up to 80% of the price of the property, never more than that. Maximum that you can borrow in a normal society, healthy economy in the real estate market is 4 to 5 times your annual income, not 9 times like they're proposing here. As well, the low interest 2.7 is not that low. You have economies with a little bit lower. We can talk about that later, but the thing is, you never want to take a loan with like not fixed interest, especially if it's a 40-year loan. If you want to take a 10-year loan with a non-fixed interest, okay, that's up on you, but generally you shouldn't. But I'm going to talk about this in another video. Shouldn't exceed 50% of the family income in Czech Republic, and it's not mandatorily, it's just a suggestion. And elsewhere, it's more like 40%. Unless you can prove you're going to generate some like crazy money, or you are about to like get a huge raise or something. This is how it works, and why it works like that elsewhere, not here, but elsewhere, is because real estate market tends to crash. And it usually crashes because the economy crashes, a lot of people loses their jobs. And once that happens, people cannot pay their mortgages. It's insane that people in the Czech Republic are not realizing that, and they say, no, real estate prices never come down. And it's like, what? I mean, have you seen Spain, US, Italy? Like literally, this has happened everywhere. Hasn't happened here because you have a free market only for 30 years. If you're taking a loan nowadays for 40 years in these conditions and for those prices, you better hope the market doesn't crash in 40 years, or you'll be very damn. Now, I'm still talking about the problem. Now, rents are high, but buying is even worse. So in this investigation, everything is linked down below. In this investigation that I found, it said that Prague renters are paying 12 to 30% less on rent than you would pay in a mortgage for the house they're living in. This is crazy. This is completely disassociation, and this tells you that the market is unhealthy. That is not as it should be, because your rent should always be higher than the mortgage of the house. It makes absolutely no sense how it's working right now. So imagine that you're buying a house, you have to put the 10% down. It's a 6 million house, right? You had to put 600,000 down, and on top of that you're going to pay even more rent, because it's literally rent to the bank, than me for 40 years. That's not how it works, okay? That's not logical. Why? Because usually the rent price should be in between 0.8 to 1.1% of the value of the property. If you're renting an apartment that you're paying 20,000 Czech crowns, that apartment, you're actually paying only the 0.3% of the price of the property. And that only means that the market is overpriced in the buying end. or that the market is underpriced in the renting end, but you cannot actually increase the rents. Why not? Because people are already paying 50% of their income in rate on average in Prague. So part of the problem is how many houses are we building per year in the Czech Republic? How many new houses are entering the market from scratch? How many new developments are happening? Well, we're having around 3,000 apartments / houses, like 3,000 units per year. And we're actually needing 6,000 per year. You imagine the amount of people that comes year on year to the next year waiting for a new house, because this has been happening since 2014. We're having this issue for 6 years, accumulating people that haven't been able to buy a house in the Czech Republic, in Prague specifically. In 2018, there were built 3,800 new flats, half of what it was built in 2014, that it was 6,176. And remember that I said that from 2014 till today, the prices have grown 90%? Yeah, 2014 was the last year that we actually built the amount of houses that we should have. Why? I don't know. Speculation, like what's going on? I'm going to tell you what's going on, but this is what's happening. This is the problem. The analysts say that the shortage of apartments in the most demand locations will only increase, and this is just gonna rise more the prices. How many houses do we need per year? And this is the calculation. So Prague has 1.3 million inhabitants, and we are expecting that for 2030 we're gonna have 1.5 million inhabitants. That's 200,000 more inhabitants. Thinking that household is around 3 people per house, we would need to build around 6,000 new apartments per year. I already told you that we are building half. And this is a study conducted by the Prague Institute of Planning and Development. So it's not what Andrea says, it's literally out there. But even nowadays, 2020, we have in between 300,000 and 400,000 people working in Prague that cannot live in the city. What does that mean? That we're actually needing in between 200 to 300,000 more housing or apartments in Prague that don't exist. So these people have to live away and then drive to Prague. So very fast insight here. Is then Airbnb responsible for the crisis? Well, my loves, Airbnb has 14,000 units in the Czech Republic, 14,000 listings. And we're talking about that we are needing right in this second 300,000 houses. So literally Airbnb doesn't constitute even the 10%. It's not the problem. And even if we take away the 14,000, which is, by the way, in my way of seeing it, kind of anti-constitutional, because, it's your private property. You have the right to do with it whatever you want. Kind of like you can rent it, you can sell it, you can literally close it and not do anything with it. So if people want to rent it, they should have the right to rent it for short terms. But that's me. You might hate Airbnb. That's up to you. I don't mind. That's just how I see freedom. And I see freedom to do whatever you want with your property. What I'm just saying with this is Airbnb is not the problem. Definitely. Because it's only 14,000 units and we're needing 250,000. So forget about Airbnb. That's not the problem. It's very easy to tell people like you and me, Airbnb is the problem, because if you're a politician and you need to be elected, it's super, super easy to just say that and they vote you and then you solve the problem by eliminating Airbnb, and 3 years later you have the same problem because, now we're getting deep into the why. Why is this happening? Why they're not building more? Why? Well, easy. Zoning system and construction permits. That's the enemy. The enemy is not Airbnb. The enemy is not high prices. The enemy is zoning and permit. Before construction, you need to do a thing called zoning. Zoning means that the area where you're going to build it has an okay for construction for families, for development, for living, for housing. Okay, that you just have to do it through a zoning plan that is called Územní plan, and it has a lot of technical rules and whatever. And then once you have the zoning permit, you go and you get your construction permit. You have to clear it up with the water supply, with the electricity supply. You have to put the design there, see that the city is not going to be affected in traffic and other things. And then you get it approved. And then it comes the third stage. And for me is the key of the problem, that is called third party is my object. What does that mean? You did the zoning process. That takes around 2 years. And I'm going to explain why it takes so long, but I'm going to explain it later. Around 2 years. Then you did the permits, right? And the permits take in average 260 days. It takes much longer, but let's say it takes 260 days in a perfect universe. Okay, so once you have the project, you have the terrain, you have everything you're about to build, you have to put your project in what we're gonna call the blackboard, okay? You put it in the blackboard, and people, neighbors, whoever, has 15 days to object the project. Who can object the project? Relevant authorities. Those are, for example, the environmental authorities, which are usually the ones not happy with anything. A participant, that's pretty much municipalities or like, regional governments, or a person owning, for example, an adjacent land or a land nearby. And the third one, general public. What's general public? It's literally anyone. So you might say, okay, 15 days for objecting that. I mean, that's not very common elsewhere, but it's common here. But what's the problem with that? They're always gonna object. Always. Because you can object because of whatever. You can object because the building that is going to be built in front of your plot is going to take some light away from you. I mean, if you're not from the Czech Republic, you might say, well, it's my terrain. If I want to build something, I mean, it's my terrain. If it's inside of the city rules and everything, I should be able to build it. But if you're Czech, you might say, oh, it makes sense because I actually had a beautiful view from my apartment and I want to keep it that way. That's not how it works. That's not your terrain. If you want to keep having a beautiful view, buy the terrain in front and don't build anything. You cannot tell somebody to not build something in front of your house. And I know everybody's going to hate me for saying this, but that's just how it works elsewhere. And this is the main problem of the real estate situation in the Czech Republic. So what happens with the blackboard? Let's say you get your project approved, the zoning, everything, you put it in the blackboard. This was the part that I talked with the person that deals with permits here in Prague, okay? He's Czech, he deals with that. Actually, I use a translator to speak with him, and he's not gonna say his name, I'm not gonna mention his name, but this is what he told me. So you put the thing there for 15 days, they can appeal, okay? Usually, the local construction department sees if the appeal is right or not, or if it makes sense. Usually they give the right to the people or to the appealer, for saying it that way. And then you have to modify your entire project. So the project was approved, right? For the zoning, the type of project, you have all the permits. It was perfect, but then somebody didn't like it, and now you have to redo the project. You redo the project in a way that now it has less apartments, and you like code it in a way, the building, that now the shadow is not that there, or now it's not going to be 10 floors, it's going to be 6 floors because the woman in the 7th floor in the building in front got angry about her view. Okay. So now that you have it like that, you have to go again through all the permit process that took a long time, like 2 years or something, or maybe 1 year. You do the entire thing, and then again, you have to put it in the blackboard thing again for 15 days. So this time you won't have one person appealing. You'll have 20 person appealing because now everybody knows that you're building that. So these people make kind of like a conglomerate and then go and they appeal again. If the local construction department says like, well, actually, we see it fine, they might take it to court. So they take it to court, and in court, it can take 1 year. They're supposed to take like 6 months, but it takes like 1 year. I imagine that at the end, the court says like, no, this construction company has it completely right. I don't know why you guys don't like it. No, you can build it. Well, actually, the neighbors and all the people appealing can sue the government that approved the project and take it to the city hall. In the city hall, it would go to court under a lawsuit because they really don't want that building built, and it's gonna stay there for 2 years. After those 2 years, the project cannot be built. So they stop the project, they go to court, and it might take 2 years. And after that, the construction company wins because they might win. But when you take all the collection of years that I've said, it actually took like 6 to 7 years to start the project. And if you don't believe me, there's literally a perfect example in Angel. There's this development group that is called SEKYRA group. They're building a building that hasn't been able to actually start or finish or like develop construction in 10 years because of appeals. Nothing else, just because of appeals. It doesn't just happen inside the city. It can happen anywhere. You can literally have a farm, and the farm next door got like the zoning thing, so now they finally can do a development there, and you are a farmer and you have a farm nearby, and you can say, no, I don't want it because I like the view of the green field of the neighbor, and they cannot build. Even though they got approved the zone, they got approved everything, they cannot build. Now, to get more in depth, how zoning works is that it takes around 18 months to get a zoning permit here in the Czech Republic. Why? Because you do it from scratch. What does that mean? That means that if you find a terrain, even if it's near the city center or anywhere, doesn't matter, you have to do the zoning for that terrain. But that also means that there's no entity doing general zoning for general areas for developers to make that area. And what's zoning? Zoning takes a long time because it takes 1 year for environmental impact. And then you have the water supply to see if you can hook up their water and how much charge you can put to the water supply that Prague already has. The same for electricity. It's not just like, let's put electricity. It's like you have to put their poles. You have to see if the electrical centers that are producing electricity can take that new charge of electricity that you're going to put because of your new buildings in the area. How this is done elsewhere, because of course I had to ask people elsewhere how it's done. So in Czech Republic works that you do it individually, right? But elsewhere you actually have a department inside the city hall that does this for you constantly without you even wanting the train yet. What I mean is, if the city is growing and expanding, you have this department thinking or seeing where is the city expanding. No, they take all the terrains around, even if they're farming or whatever, and they give it a new stamp that says, yes, this is farming. These farmers are not even selling, but we're already going to give it the double stamp of this is for farming and residential. So we're going to already hook up the water and electricity there. It might never get for residential, or it might, probably it will, because we just do it in advance. So when the construction companies come, they don't have to do all this process and they can literally just like purchase the land and start building already because it already has the zoning code, okay? And those zoning codes are very specific. So it already says the amount of the terrain that you can use, the percentage. It already says how many families they can live there, like how many apartments you can have, the amount of people that can be in the specific square meterage area. So it's already pretty predetermined. So when you go and buy that terrain to just build a house, it's pretty easy. It's already on paper. That's how it works elsewhere. That's not how it works here. You don't have that department. You don't have that planification. That's actually called urbanism, and it's extremely important for cities. If your city doesn't have urbanism or people doing this process, you're going to have a real estate crisis sooner or later, like we're seeing here. Doing the zoning for every building and every house you're going to build takes forever, and that's one of the main reasons why we have this chaos here. I'm putting all these numbers together, and you might say, well, Andrea, maybe that's you and you're crazy. No. There's actually a study that it comes from the doingbusiness.org, that is a very important organization that rates countries around the world for their practicality, for their how easy it is to do business there. And Czech Republic was good in many aspects besides one, that was construction and construction permits. We came out 157 of 190 countries. That's bad. That's very bad. What does that mean? That means that Germany came out in 30. And you remember that in Germany, it takes you only 5 years of your full salary to buy a house? You see the correlation here that I'm talking about all the time? So Germany came 30, Poland 39, Italy 97, Hungary 108, Prague 157. The developers were saying that it's easier to build in Bangladesh or El Congo than in Czech Republic. That's not good at all. Possible solutions and why would they work? So right now, there's a new construction code coming up next year in January 2022. It's called the New Building Act, and it's supposed to put the entire construction permits under one platform online that you can do everything through one click. Speaking with the experts here in Prague, they tell me that will do absolutely nothing. I mean, they're happy that they're putting and implementing that, but they think that's a very superficial solution to the problem. Also, of course, it has a lot of people opposing this. Who you think they're opposing it? Yeah, everybody who is in the little monopoly of construction. They don't want this because they want to keep the monopoly going, of course. So you have some people opposing it, saying it's even against the public interest and that is anti-constitutional because they're pushing this new act in 3 years instead of your average 6 years. In 3 years, we needed like 3 years ago. What are we talking about? The 3 years is not very a short period. This is a crisis. This is an emergency. What are we going to do about it? But of course, guess who's also opposing? UNESCO. UNESCO is opposing to everything. Honestly, if they want a city that doesn't grow and is paralyzed in time, they can create their own Disneyland. There's real people living here with real problems and we really need housing. And of course, nobody wants to build a skyscraper in the city center of Prague. I mean, we're not London. I'm kidding. But we can grow the city to the sides and to the borders, and that's normal. And you are seeing more and more developed cities in Europe with skyscrapers areas nearby the city. But in Prague, UNESCO is not allowing that, and it's literally threatening to taking us out the UNESCO book if we change the law in construction. So with this new building act, the government says that the construction permits can take around a year instead of the 5 years that are taking at the moment. You have to take in consideration that the same permit in Germany would take around a month. It would take around 2 weeks in Florida. It would take around 3 months in majority of countries of Latin America. So yeah, still 1 year is crazy long. And here is my option for solution. So a lot of people have been presenting 3 options for solution to this problem. One, some people, majority, are saying, let's ban Airbnb. We already talked about Airbnb. Forget about Airbnb. If you don't want it, vote against it. I don't care, but it's not going to solve the problem. Then we have 2 options. We have the leftish idea and the rightish idea. So the leftish idea, of course, wants to build more like government-owned housing so they can give housing to the people that cannot afford it. By the way, we are like 70% of the population that can't afford housing. So what are you gonna build like the new Panelac era of 21st century? No. And I'm gonna explain why not. Because literally, if you build social interest housing, the money comes from our pockets. It comes from our taxes. It's literally drying our arcs. Is just a vicious cycle of nonsense. It would just make us more poor. The idea from the right is actually all the opposite. It will make us more rich because construction is one of the things that can make a country richer faster. Changing not just the law, but changing something that has become the right, that is the opposing to the project. The moment you change the zoning system and you actually have people doing the zoning before you actually have to purchase the terrain. So not every freaking project has to do their own zoning, and you actually have a government company doing the zoning and hooking up water and electricity before there's even projects in the area. Very important, yes. And then forbidding this thing of the blackboard that I explained at the beginning, because that's the main issue. What happens when you put down the years that it takes to begin construction in a country? You attract international investors, and not idiots that come and buy apartments and just skyrocket the prices because they have money and they buy them cash. No, I'm talking literally injecting money from abroad to create real estate, meaning companies that ask loans in their countries, not in our country, so that doesn't affect our economy, and bring that money here to build here. That also, offer and demand, that's the main issue in Czech Republic. The moment that offer will meet demand, finally the prices would come down. So it's not that hard, but we do have to change the rules there. Also, if you do it this way, not the leftist way, but this way, the moment you start changing the zoning and everything, the prices of the terrains start to come down. The moment the prices of the terrain starts to come down and the moment you can start building earlier, there's something that can happen immediately. Civil engineers don't have to keep working for the big companies. They can actually go independent, buy land with loans from the banks, start building right away, paying the bank, putting projects, building their apartments, selling those apartments, and you would have projects that from start, literally purchasing of the terrain to finish would be 3 years instead of 10. That would be huge difference. Finally, the prices would come down, and finally, everybody who would want, could buy a property. So this is the real problem. I just wanted to address it. That's my input in what the solution could be. Do I see that solution happening soon? No. Do I see the prices of real estate coming down soon? No. So what's my suggestion? Rent is way cheaper. And you're going to say, no, because at the end, you're not going to have a property. Well, dude, you're not going to have a property for 40 years paying that loan. And anyway, you took your 600,000 Czech crowns and you put it in the initial of something that is not going to generate anything, when you could have put it in the stock market, or you could have put it in like 4 apartments in Portugal and rent them and actually generate some income from that. So yeah, I'm super not pro buying right now. And if you want me to do a video on why I'm so opposed to buying in general, but right now in the economy that we have in the Czech Republic, I will do a video about that. And this has been long, it has been dense. Remember, down is all the information you want to have from these. I literally had to read so many studies. I had to translate so many things. I have to speak with so many people. So yeah, this doesn't come from thin air. I literally did a huge investigation. I'm so sorry if this goes opposed of what you want, what you believe, or you literally think I'm wrong, but I'm actually right in this one. So that was it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and to follow me on Instagram. If you love this video, follow me for more videos. If you didn't like this video, it's okay. You also know I do a lot of fun taste tests and more like bubbly, happy videos, but I had to do this one because, you know, I'm in that age that everybody's telling me you should buy, and honestly, no, I shouldn't, and this is why I shouldn't. So that's what's happening with real estate situation here in Czech Republic, and I've said my piece. Now, we're gonna go for the winner of the contest of the last video that was Taste Test of Arepas. Remember that she or he could win 2 vouchers for 500 crowns each to go eat in Arepas de Lina, as well as the 3 smaller prizes of a mug and a beverage or a sweet from Venezuela. So I'm gonna give the results right away, and as well I'm gonna post them in my Instagram, so stay tuned there. Okay, these are the winners, and I cannot believe it, but this guy's my friend and has been asking for this prize all the time. Oh my god, Nacho, you are so lucky. Now I have to check that everybody is following the other account as well, and that's it. Woohoo! Have a great day. Bye.